Yeah, I'm tired, man. I can't remember everything. Okay. Do you want me to start the intros off?
No, I do the intros for you, don't worry.
Yeah? Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new YouTube cast live here on Wardi's channel. Today, we're going to be having a best of 5 between, in the bottom left spawning as the blue Protoss player Zest. And in the top right, spawning as the red Zerg player, it's going to be Reynor. Now, if you aren't subscribed yet to Wardi's channel, now's the perfect time to smash that like button. And also subscribe to his channel. Hitting that like button will help him so much in getting his videos to get recommended in the algorithm. So be sure to do that. As Wardi's been struggling to get up there in the YouTube ranks, and we want to help him out.
Nice. That was
nice.
That was everything I wanted it to be. I love it.
Everything and more, Wardi. Now, enough of the chit chat. Let's go straight deep into the analyzing of this match. As we have Reynor versus Zest. We see Zest starting with a hatch block on ice and chrome, which has a couple of features which are interesting for our viewers to know about. Now, it is a map with relatively easy defense on the third base, right? You get this natural type of choke with those rocks there. You have a ramp going up to that natural area, and you have a choke if the toss decides to attack from the left side. So attacks are kind of uncommon on this map, at least force field based attacks, because a Roach Ravager Concave a lot of the time won't be able to do that. Now, with that in mind, a lot of the time we'll see a lot of easy four base holds by Zerg players and higher drone counts, especially players like Cyril and Reynor like to get that higher drone count, go up to 75, 80, 85 workers as quickly as they can. And it's going to be on Zest to try and deny that. Most likely he's going to be opening with some type of glaive opening, even though we've seen him open 3DT drops or 3-gate DT drops in the past as well on this map. So curious to see what we're going to see. One last note on this map is that both on the top left and the bottom right, close to the watchtower, is the living space of the Ursadon. The Ursadon is a 10 HP critter, which looks extremely strong, but actually doesn't do all that much. You can two-shot him with probes. Almost everything else one-shots him. So do not worry if you do spot the Ursadon. He is just a giant goose. He is the inflated muscle man, basically. You see a critter like the Karak or like the Urubu on Golden Wall, for example. And you look at them and you know they're weak, right? 10 HP makes sense. The Urubu sometimes even tends to run away because he's very afraid. But the Ursadon looks powerful and scary, but really only has 10 HP. So... don't be fooled there, guys. Now, we do see quick Robo Twilight Council, and we're seeing a second gateway go down, as well as Resonating Glaive starting here for Zest. He should start his third gateway unit as well after this. And then he'll add 2 more gateways to go into that glaive build. He hasn't pulled out of gas quite yet, so this could indicate a DT follow-up, actually. If you see Protoss players get this much gas, I'm always a little bit wary of their follow-up.
That was like 3.5 minutes of pure analysis, including the critter analysis. I love it. You know, Don, I just want to touch on this very important note. I really feel like this critter screws stuff up more than any other critter, because it's actually big and clunky.
Yeah. The Urubus, they walk away. The Karaks tend to be in unimportant areas of the map, because female Karaks are on the very top left and bottom right, and the Karaks near the watchtower. They never see much action. Sometimes they actually block something going down the ramp, but this Ursadon actually does see some action every now and then. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Oh, we see a fast Roach Warren. Oh, never mind. No, for some reason, I thought this was way fast, but then I realized we're seeing a glaive build. And of course, against a glaive build, this is just a regular timed Roach Warren, perhaps even a little bit late. Now, the opening we're seeing here is a 6-queen opener. Spinecrawler in the middle between the natural and the third. Spinecrawler is a little bit late, though. And we do see the Dark Shrine follow up. Like I mentioned before, high gas count on the Protoss side does tend to indicate that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of a depth shading in, but the link count is good for the moment. The queens are there, so no issues. And then obviously the Roach runs are going to be in sync. There's even the spine crawler. Do you like the spine at this front area? Because I understand the adepts might walk there to kind of shade somewhere, but I feel like that's not really going to cover too much, as we see the adepts actually do kind of fight in that location. The links come in, the adepts will shade to the high ground, and Zest can hold that ramp a little bit if he wants to. He's in the main base, but he's going to get cornered in with Queens chasing him. But of course now he might start pulling Reynor apart a little bit. He's off down to the third Hearthstone.
Yeah, he's actually gonna go in that in-between area again, right? So he wants to walk over there and then shade either into the main or the natural. The roaches are very late here for Reynor. Only roaches starting to come out at 5:20. I think something went wrong there. I had a little bit of a supply block earlier. Dark Shrine is about to finish. Only a single spore being built right now, and that's in the main base. So if Zest warps the DTs into the main base, I think Reynor will be just fine. But if he walks them into the natural or the third, actually Reynor's in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, he's gonna go for that. Oh no! He loses 2 of them!
That was so sick. We do see the adepts in the third phase though, actually doing quite a bit of damage. 37 works against 41 currently. There is nothing in the natural. That boots around on the spore here by Reynor. As still the third base is completely empty. I mean, this could just fall against a single DT as well. Adepts are shading out of the danger zone as the queens and roaches try to clean it up. I feel like the pressure that Zest has been putting on so far, it's been doing quite some damage, but I think he needed a little bit more, and so does Zest think as well. As he works in 2 more DTs, he'll try to maybe zone out these roaches while the adepts try to get something more done. He needs to be very careful though. There's spores both in the main and the natural. It's even getting a spore at the third base right now. There's still 6 queens on the map too, so
yeah,
one more DT goes down. That's sloppy.
Yeah, he's walking a tight line, right? Like, it's the spore crawl moves forward a bit and suddenly he can't stand where he was standing. That was always going to be the risk of what he was doing, and it feels great, but then the third hatchery doesn't actually die. So Reynor maintains an okay-ish work count. Like, he's down a little bit now, but of course he doesn't really need to make much more army for a while. And Zest obviously lost a lot of army, so he doesn't have much, even defensively. There's only a couple of adepts warping in. If those lings had found the third base straight away, I mean, they might even still have a great time here. Full surround on the adept, and then what's there to protect the Nexus?
Yeah, you could warp in a DT and a Zealot or something like that. He already had a probe transfer coming in, 1 more adept being warped in at home. That pylon is most likely gonna fall. 4 more adepts try to get back home. Archon drop is not really getting anything done, right? And like you mentioned, the moment all the aggressive units for Zest kind of disappear, there's just such a long period for the Zerg to drone up, and that's what we see Reynor do here. On top of that, Zest needs to be very, very careful to not die to any type of counterattack. So he needs to scout, he needs to try to do some slow harassment with his Archons and then somehow get into a decent mid game. It seems to be possible as he managed to supply block Reynor quite a bit, but yeah, this is the scariest stage of this build for the Protoss player, where you're not quite sure what's happening, like how many drones does the Zerg end up getting. You don't want to let him over drone, but you also don't want to put on too much pressure in case he is actually attacking you and you just lose your army in the middle of the map.
Yeah, it's really, really tough because what do you do to even pick up that information? Like, maybe the Archon drop, if it was still aggressive, could keep, you know, an eye on things, but then, you know, then it depends where the damage is to be done. Right now, the damage is in the middle of the map. He found all those overlords. That's going to just try and keep Reynor busy. A Reynor who is now on 73 drones, now is just going to start building units. That's a lot of adepts from Zest. I didn't realize he was still just building so many adepts. That's obviously just a continued all-in from Zest. He just wants to go for this.
Yeah, there's no banelings. I feel like 4 or 5 banelings here would be super helpful, even if it's just to zone the adepts. More than anything, we see a big shade going into the third base right now. Drones start to fall. Roaches are in position with transfuses. Roaches actually tend to do quite well. 12, 13 drones have gone down already, though. Reynor is sending more drones over to the third base. I'm not quite sure why. They just seem like a good target. Good target practice here for the adepts. As big shade into the natural now. A couple of drones even go, or adepts even going into the main. We'll be able to take out even more drones. As we see, 52 workers against 38. And it's looking very, very bad here for Reynor now all of a sudden.
Yeah, he loses a lot of stuff. But at the same time, these adepts are surely going to fall eventually. Is there any hope of maybe a counterattack? He's going to have a few roaches. Oh my god, Zest didn't kill the 4th base. He leaves it on 10 HP. Oh, that's obviously a little bit of a fortunate moment there from Reynor as the adept shade out.
Yeah, you make a good point. Once again, the game continues to go in similar cycles. Now, as earlier we saw that adept harassment did a lot of eco damage, but once again, the army for Reynor is still alive. He's gonna be able to drone up and put on pressure with the Ravagers. Now, the reason for that is because he's been saving a lot of gas, and Ravagers, of course, don't cost larva, so you can kind of build Ravagers and drones at the same time. So this is going to force Zest to cut on his eco and perhaps not tag too quickly either. It's going to be forced to build more Stalkers, more Sentries, a lot of batteries going down as well. While Reynor actually is getting his eco back up, he already has +1 attack upgrades. We see no Forge even yet for Zest, so Reynor's position perhaps isn't even that bad. I mean, there's no secondary tag here for Zest either, right? There's no Robo Bay. I don't see a Templar Archive. So, with like you said, that fourth actually is a big deal right now because Reynor's just going to go back up to 70 drones. He has +2 on the way. And all of a sudden, Zest is kind of all in, right? The moment +2 finishes, these armies, they're going to tilt heavily in favor of Reynor, even now already. This looks good for Reynor, honestly. Reynor's still pulling a lot of drones, though. Not quite aware of what Zest is doing behind this. He needs to scout the gases of Zest and realize, hey, this is not a normal play. You know, these gases are really, really late. This is most likely going to be a big pressure. And we see a spine coming down. I think that's a little bit late, as Reynor went up to 75 workers.
He didn't
That's
realize.
pushing it a bit.
He didn't realize it's like the third wave of this all in. You know, Zest is like, you know, final add-on blink, but that's about it. A couple of immortals. And now he's just going to kind of go for this. He hits a supply block on Reynor too. That's massive. He's going to get another Overlord. Well, Reynor's got 4 on the way, but they're just not ready yet. So that's a long time. And really, if you get into position on one of these bases as well, both of them are low HP, so they're going to go down very easily in a fight. And that's going to, you know, really already kind of hurt you in terms of continuing to mine, etc. during the rest of this defense. So if Zest can just get forward far enough, of course, that's more easily said than done. There's a lot of Ravagers waiting. Those Biles are going to make it difficult to push through. You always see Zest having to blink back just that little bit.
Oh, the Reynor Ravager squad gets the prison. That's such a big deal because this is gonna ensure that the +2 finishes up as well. It's gonna be done in 40 seconds from now. I don't think Zest can fight into this without having reinforcements available. So we see a bunch of Stalkers being warped in at home right now. Another Prism is on the way. 18 more Roaches being built here for Reynor as he tries to jump on top of this army. A couple of Biles hitting. A lot of the Sentries are falling as well. And
I don't like the Ravagers though. It feels like the Ravagers are so far forward, and there's a lot of Stalkers here. I mean, he's going to get rid of the Immortals and Sentries, but now Stalkers are going to come forward, and a lot of the supply of Reynor is still in just rebuilding Roaches, so Zest is going to get a lot done, and he might just be able to get this hatchery as well. Depends what he wants to prioritize. He's going to keep fighting the units. Do you think it's worth just right-clicking the hatchery at some point?
I'm not entirely sure because it feels like he needs to trade with the army ASAP now that +2 has finished. The longer this game goes on, I mean, Reynor is outmining him as well. So the longer this game goes on, the worse it gets for Zest, and I think Reynor's just going to move forward. +2 upgrades is such a big deal on these Ravagers and Roaches if your opponent doesn't have any upgrades. I mean, +1's already a big deal, but +2 is an even bigger deal. Why? That's kind of how upgrades work. As we see a 5th base done for Reynor as well, 76 workers. He's up 40 supply right now, and sure, that supply is only in Roaches and Ravagers, and his creep threat isn't as great as he probably would like it to be, but I mean, with these upgrades and literally a pure Stalker army, 32 Stalkers against 12 Roaches and 15 Ravagers. Oh my god, he hits himself with Biles. That was not quite brilliant. Oh, again. Oh, wow. Reynor.
Zest already had another Prism showing up as well. This felt like obviously such a winnable game for Zest with, you know, so many close calls. I feel like if you kill the 3rd base at some point, that's a close call. That 4th base obviously just should have died, and that maybe could have made a difference. And I mean, even at the end here, if he doesn't lose that Prism, it was already a close fight. Imagine he has 8 more Stalkers already in the fight, and the next 8 joining in much more quickly afterwards.
Yeah, it's not even done yet apparently. Yeah. I thought we were definitely going towards the end here, but these 2 Stalker armies are causing a lot of trouble here for Reynor now. Yeah, the upgrades are saving Reynor so hard here, honestly. If there was no upgrade advantage here, if Zest just would have gotten a Forge, and he definitely could have, right? I mean, once you hit 150, 160 supply, like an upgrade is just worth it to invest in. You see good micro on the right side with this pure Stalker army. This looks like some weird old-school PvP scenario, honestly. Yeah. This is really sick to watch. There's little fights everywhere on the map. Another Prism goes down as 3 Ravagers find a target. Reynor with another supply block. The Stalkers on the left side of the map do manage to kind of push back Reynor, but the income for Zest is about to run back real hard. As there's a lot of mineral patches on the 3rd base, which are about to run out as well. We see a 4th coming up. I would love to see just a DT being sprinkled in here and there. Send it to the 5th base. Maybe even send one into the natural, you know, trying to get some damage done there. Now, of course, Zest isn't aware of where there are and where there aren't any spores. Oh, look at this flank by Reynor. He's gonna get it.
He's gonna get this base, but then he's gonna blink, and then the flank. It's not really
The
there.
third base?
Oh my god. He's gonna lose both bases. No, he doesn't!
Oh.
Just misjudges it. Wow. These bases, man, they keep surviving on such low HP as Zest continues to warp in Stalkers. Okay, so with Zest buying so much time with these Stalkers, is there not just a... Well, I know you mentioned the Forge already, but would it not just make sense to add it on, right? Like, you're only going to get your army to be better and better, and I know he might feel like he needs to win right now, but he's also floating that money. And he is kind of drawing the game out.
Maybe even Storm. Try to get some Templars and Prisms. I mean, there's almost no creep, so... A lot of these fights are just happening off creep and Storm. Even Disruptors, I'm not one to... What the hell? How many... Oh, this is... There's one Overseer. Oh, he was hoping there wasn't, though. He could blink into the Overseer and fight with the DTs, perhaps. We still have 2 fights going on at the same time. We see a big Baneling run by. Good recall here by Zest. Very mature call by him. Even though he probably could have just blinked past these Banelings now that I see it. The only problem I see here for Zest is that he has an army that needs to be kiting all the way back to his base, right? He can't just fight at one location. So the moment Zest isn't the aggressor anymore, his army becomes so much worse because he can't really defend his bases with this. There is no Overseer with his army on the right side. There is 2 Overseers with the left, with the top side army. Banelings rolling forward, +1 melee, not quite done yet. Archons are added into the mix at this point as well. I mean, Reynor doesn't even care too much about efficient fights at this point. He has such a massive bank. He just wants to trade, and any type of trade will do for him, as long as he doesn't completely get stumped.
Well, Zest, I mean, maybe could have done well if he'd kept some DTs in this and taken down the Overseer, which he wins the fight on the right side, by the way, and he is still pushing away on the left. I don't think he has enough to really blink forward on the left, but Reynor doesn't realize it and keeps backing off, so suddenly Reynor, well... You know, his supply almost feels reachable, but then you realize he's still got 1k in the bank to spend, and those upgrades just keep on coming. That +2 melee is coming into play, and a little bit of army shows up on this 4th base, which has obviously been rebuilt since it went down. So he's not going to achieve much there, but just love that. I mean, even a DT that ran into the right side at some point, just to finish off that hatchery, could have absolutely done a lot, because there's been opportunities to get stuff there, for sure.
I don't think Zest should be attacking in one big blob. The reason he's been doing so well in this game is because he hasn't. So far, we see way too many Banelings here, I believe. Big Ravager count, big Roach count. A lot of the Biles are hitting. A lot of Archons went down there. This is not what you needed to do, Zest. You're doing such a good job, and it was working, but... Yeah, these straight-up engagements are not what you want against a Roachling, Ravager, Bane army.
No. Let's, as a few Banes come in from the bottom side as well, it really feels like Zest... Just, I mean, he guns forward too. He's really going for it, but there's just no way this Stalker fight wins out anymore. GG's call. Reynor takes it in a super entertaining game where it felt like Zest, a couple of different decisions here or there at multiple points of the game. He actually had a lot of chances, I feel, to really turn this entire thing on his head, but just couldn't quite find them, and Reynor was able to take that advantage.
Yeah. It's a good show so far, that's for sure. As we have in the top left spawning as the Blue Pros player, Zest.
And in the bottom right, spawning as the red Zerg player, it is Reynor. So as you went super analysis mode for like first 3 minutes of the last game, should I do super play-by-play for the first 3 minutes?
Sure, go ahead, Wardy. Be my guest.
No. I mean, the best I've got is the probe running through the acceleration zone. I'm too tired for that level of play-by-play, man. What can I say? It wouldn't live up to the analysis.
How can you be too tired for this level of StarCraft, Wardy? Where is your passion? It's unbelievable. Stayed up all night playing Fortnite again.
Whoa!
And here you...
Whoa! I stayed up all night trying to defend my boy Risky against the Australians, okay? Like... It was some
If that's what you want to call Fortnite, then that's okay. Let's just focus on the game for now, Wardy. You don't care about your Fortnite adventures. As here we have, once again, a little bit of a dance actually between that drone and that pro. Usually you see the Zerg immediately take their third, but here Reynor tried to be a little bit cheeky, tried to come back, but Zest was having none of it. And I was like, all right, buddy, back to your corner, take that base. And he did manage to force him. Zest's movement with the adepts, by the way, is just absolutely wonderful. Just watching him do things with it. It's very funny because a lot of the time, like I'll get messages or people will be like, man, like I'm in Diamond 3 right now, and I think Zergs at my level are just too good against the Glaive Adepts. Like I can't do any damage with them anymore. And I'll read that message, and I completely understand where they're coming from, because very often I feel the same. It's like, I guess like guys that are like 6'2" or 6'3", I can get some damage done, but then play against Serral and Reynor, and it's like, you might as well not have done any opener, you know? You kill a drone because they misrallied it or something like that, and you lose like 15 adepts. And it's like ready to flame. It's like, how the hell are you supposed to do that? And then you watch like stats and you watch Zest and these guys, and their control with the adepts is just so beautiful to watch. They always get damage done. They're almost always at least even. And most of the time they're just ahead going into a mid game. They get these big powerful pushes behind it, and it's really quite a treat to watch, to see how they move it, how they make these split-second decisions. And it looks very, very easy, but if you play it yourself, it's so easy to misjudge where to shade, to misjudge what to finish, what not to finish, how to move in general. And for some reason, these guys just completely have it down at a different level, especially Zest and Stats. I've been thoroughly impressed with, and Trap to a certain extent as well. As once again, we most likely are going to be having that glaive build. We see a lot of gas being mined. Could also still be something like straight or straight Dark Templar drop, also still possible. Although that build has died a bit again in popularity as Zergs have gotten better at it. There is actually some Zergs that always build 3 spores, and if they see that the first warp in is glaive adepts, they just cancel the spores. Just like a really safe play. It requires a little more APM, and it costs you a bit of mining time and some cancel money, but it's a very safe way to deal with almost all of the builds, which I thought was really cool. It also does well against like the fake straight warp gate into Stargate shenanigans that we've seen Zest do once or twice. We've seen Trap pull it off once or twice as well. It's just cool to see all the variations that Zergs have to deal with it. Of course, the main idea of the single gas with a lot of links at the start, originating from the Korean Zerg Dongregul, it is really the bread and butter of the defense. But then there's a lot of little variations that Zergs can do. We see some Zergs get 5 queens with a spine, some get 6 queens without a spine, some get like 4 or 3 queens even, and they really focus more on units. Or like maybe 2 spines even, something like that. So there's very many different ways in which Zergs can and try to defend, but they all have the same idea. That's that single gas with lots of links early on, and then roaches later on to defend against the 12 or the 16 adepts. But the initial 8 to 12, a lot of the time, are just going to be defended with queens and links, and perhaps a spine in a decent position.
Well, here we go. Adepts coming across the map. Zest gonna hit the warp in pretty much on point. Maybe a second or two late because he has to be pushed back by the queens. Just a little bit frustrating. It's always the thing with these builds, right? Your first warp in is delayed, it means your next warp in is always going to be that little bit delayed too, so it does add up.
The 20-second cooldown always remains a 20-second cooldown, whether you warp in at 421 or 432. Like, your next warp is going to be 20 seconds later there, buddy. So he actually has a pretty late warp in here. I think that was 435. So we're going to be seeing the next warp in 455, which means Reynor's going to have roaches in position, most likely his queens, together with that spine, means that the adepts can't really walk through, meaning that all Reynor needs to do is just follow the shade. As you see, the adepts are not threatening the third base right now, so this really should not be doing very much. Reynor accidentally attacking his own queen, actually kind of killing it in that way. There's no Dark Shrine as a follow-up. We do have a fair amount of gas being taken, so I'm thinking perhaps a Robo-Bay as a follow-up. What do you think of that, Wardy?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of gas. Robo-Bay would make the most sense after this, I would think, right? Go into something like... Do you think he goes into Colossi right away, or do you think he just try to go Disruptors as that Warp Prism? I was watching it siege up on top of a Spore Crawler. He's got to do something, right? And I don't really... I mean, obviously there's no Dark Shrine like last time, so it makes sense. He warps in the 4 Stalkers to snipe some Overlords.
I love that move. I think it's still too uncommon, because this is completely going to kill all the vision that Reynor has. So Zest realizing, okay, I'm not going to be able to do very much damage here. So what he does instead is he goes for complete vision denial. He clears all the creep, bar 1 or 2 tumors that are too close to the bases, and then he's just going to take out every single Overlord while keeping Reynor on the dark as well by not taking a third base. So Reynor, very afraid to drone up heavily here. We see him floating an uncharacteristic amount of money as well. He's getting close to 1k. I mean, we're used to see Zest float a little bit of money, but Reynor floating 900 minerals right now. That's really bad for Zerg usually. I'm surprised to see him do that.
Oh,
also,
he catches the Immortal. At the front, it's going to get recalled and just gets away. Ooh. That was obviously... That's kind of bad anyway, because now the Immortal is so much weaker than it's meant to be. Ooh.
Yeah, that might be a big deal going on later on in the game, right? If we are going to see one of those +1 timings that Zest likes to do. And what are we seeing here, Wardy? No probes being produced.
No, nothing at all. So he kind of takes what he had and he says, right, I'm going to build Immortals +1 and Blink, and I'm kind of just going to go for this on those upgrades. And at the very least, it's going to be a big attack around there, which it can work. You know, he's still got a lot of these adepts from earlier, so that's still part of the army, a buffer that can be very useful.
Actually, Zest hasn't lost anything. He lost a single probe this game.
And one adept
That's
now.
insane.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Nice. Only because the Lings were just fighting. But yeah, no, he really lost nothing, which really means that he's got everything together to fight. I really feel like that's the strongest he could be when you obviously come across the map with something like this. And yeah, he's obviously going to commit hard, and we'll see if he wants to probe up behind it if he starts to get enough damage done. Now, it's all about this attack, as the Lings are going to go counter, though, and there is not a lot on the defense. A couple of adepts against that many Lings, even walled up. It's going to be a little tough, but Reynor not going to go for it just yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have any Ravagers available. There's a lot of sentries in this army. 2 Ravagers are starting now. Baneling Nest is not quite done yet, which is going to be annoying. I think he should give up this 4th base, honestly. There's absolutely no need for him to defend this. This position isn't great to fight in, especially if you don't have Ravagers. I'm afraid Reynor feels the need to fight. He doesn't have roach speed. He doesn't have any type of upgrade advantage either. Did he not cancel?
No cancel at all, but he is going to break into the natural with those Zerglings. So Zest has to go and respond to that, and that's just annoying, right? He actually, I think, just warped into his main army again, so he only had 1 warp in at home, and that's going to be maybe even the game changer, because there's just so many Lings that have been so annoying. A couple of Adept shading through, but all of this lost mining, and obviously this is all attention he has to pay at home, so he can't focus on making the attack work across the map.
Yeah, and Zest was kind of hoping that Reynor was going to defend that right side, because going through that little choke from the fort heading towards that natural area is not great. You want to be attacking the 3rd base if you want to be fighting for real, and we see that Baneling Nest actually in an annoying position here for Reynor. A couple of biles going down. Good force fields here by Zest. Interesting blink, not too sure about that one. A lot of biles are connecting.
Oh, did Reynor just kill his own Ravager in the back lines? I think he's having a bit of trouble, right? He has a few Stalkers show up to help reinforce this. And Reynor, his supply is dropping, and he just doesn't have any Banelings or anything in this. It is just Roach Ravager still.
Yeah, and once again, Reynor's been floating a lot of money in this game for whatever reason. Finally, now he gets to spend it, but he was floating a solid 1k almost all the way throughout that fight, even without the cancel on that 4th base hatchery. We see a couple more biles going down. Reynor needs to win a little bit more time, as adepts are shading into the natural. Is going to be a cancel. Blink forward once again by Zest. No force fields are available. Good biles are going to be hitting on a lot of these stalkers. That one weakened immortal from earlier still going hard. Does end up falling now. Another blink forward, man.
Yeah, the blink around the bottom side kind of puts these stalkers in a weird place, just because it feels like now the immortals are a bit more exposed, but the adepts are doing a great job against the Lings, and with drones pulling in, so many workers going down, and it feels like Zest has got the break on Reynor right now. I mean, even if you clear this up as Reynor, you're going to be in a bit of a tough position in terms of the eco. And yeah, he just never found that prison with any of the biles or anything. It was too far away. And now Zest just going to sit here, farm overlords. And wow, what's Reynor going to do? A few more Ravagers. But with the rate at which Stalkers are showing up, don't feel like those Ravagers are ever really going to do enough. I would maybe like to see Zest just continue to trade out, I guess. I guess there's no point killing the overlords when Reynor's 1 or 2 over 200.
Yeah, exactly. Going to kill a lot of overlords there. Some laser vibes over here. As we see, Zest is just going to be a little bit strong. Yeah. Another blink forward, and it's just blink forward into blink forward. And a lot of these biles have been hitting, but at the start of that fight was just a little bit sloppy, right? We saw Reynor get caught by a lot of force fields, no biles available to clear those. And then I think he hit 1 or 2 biles on his own units as well, which was kind of painful. Like losing Ravager biles and then losing Ravagers because of your own biles is painful for, in 2 ways. So a good game there by Zest, but his early game really wasn't anything to write home about. Like he killed almost nothing. I think this was pretty much how Reynor wants it to go, right? If you think of the perfect defense, this was it. And then afterwards, just a little bit of sloppy macro, really floating a bit too much money, perhaps even going a bit too high in the worker count, right? 70 workers, 4th base, against what in reality is just a fake 3rd base from Zest with a 8-gate Blink Stalker Immortal all in. So I think there's some things that he... 3 interesting facts about Eternal Empire after we do the introductions. As in the bottom left spawning as the blue toss, it's going to be Zest.
In the top right, our red Zerg is Reynor.
All right, Wardy. Now 3 interesting facts about Eternal Empire.
3 interesting facts?
Yes.
I mean, what counts as interesting? Like
Anything that you find interesting.
anything I find interesting.
Anything you find
So
interesting.
I can be like, it's a Cloud Kingdom clone. Made by,
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah,
now,
made by the same map creator.
Same as Super Uman, right?
Yeah.
It's in the shape of an S as well. You see on the minimap, which is his initial, I guess. Yeah, it's basically a Cloud Kingdom clone with a nicer
updated
skin.
for Legacy as well.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, looks good. Is there anything else that you find interesting about this map? Perhaps the layout of the third base, giving
well, I feel like this is obviously one of the easier 3 bases to hold. Obviously, because if you hold 3 bases, there's kind of one choke you have to hold, and then the natural is like obviously that ramp up. But if you just wall that off, then obviously it's very difficult for Zerg to really bust through that. Or it takes a lot of commitment to bust through that. So you might be, you might have to go respond to it, but it's not as bad as on certain other maps where units can show up and they're already on your natural wall. So it definitely helps with that third base being held. And of course, from the third base, you get down to Rich Vest being gassed on the fourth. If you can take that low ground, and if you can get that, that's obviously fab. That's obviously usually a turning point in the mid game, right? Where if you can deny a low ground fourth and force a high ground instead, that can be a bit of a win. So it's definitely something we aim at. And of course, if you get that fourth, generally you get the fifth pretty soon after because you're holding the same general area.
Nice. I was more looking forward to you mentioning the names of the critters, but
I don't know. I actually don't know what critters on this map. Is it the Karubu?
No, the Urubu. Urubu is on Golden Wall. Here we have 2 types of critters. The only map in the map pool currently which has 2 types of critters, which is the female Karak and the male Karak. Female Karak being the gray version, the male Karak first being some type of purple, being very enticing to these females.
You know, I feel like I was cheating because I actually said Karubu, so I feel like I combined them together.
Yeah, but we knew that you meant the Urubu.
Yeah, I did. What can I say? The problem is my critter analysis is just Bronze League, you know?
Yeah, truly.
It's the weakness in the casting. But that's why you're here, because as a casting Archon, we now make, you have the critter knowledge. I talk about the bases and the maps and, actual game analysis. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic, Wardy. All right. Overlord speed here coming out of Reynor, as we saw a complete lack of scouting from Zest. He's hiding his Stargate behind his natural. That's interesting. All of that is pretty interesting, but Reynor is also going to find that interesting once he sees it with his Overlord. So I think whenever I see Zest play this, a lot of the time at least, he likes to play double Stargate as well. Especially on a map like Eternal Empire, getting out those Phoenixes is something he is a fan of. I've also seen him play some of the split army style, where he just gets charged Archon after Oracles, and then just starts A-moving around the map with 2 separate armies, and it seems weird, but it does really, really well, Wardy. It does really, really well. So you have that first Overlord might actually fall to this Stalker, even though he has Overlord speed.
Well, he has one going into the main base at the same time, so that one won't see much. As the Stalker going to move, he is going to move. I feel like this is such a bait Overlord. Like, in a way, you've got to chase it out, but then the other Overlord's just going to take the chance to move through and scout the fact that there's a Phoenix. But the Phoenix is going to pop and get the kills, so, I mean, it's not like he was going to hide much for much longer anyways.
I think he might even get 2 kills. If he managed to find that bottom Overlord again. That's kind of a big deal if you're playing Overlord speed. You don't even really want to lose one Overlord. Especially against Oracle into Phoenix, right? Where the Phoenix is kind of late. So, yeah, this double Stargate, that's what I thought. This is very, very common for Zest to play. It's very uncommon to do against Overlord speed, though, because we just see Reynor go in again with a second Overlord, and once he sees this, he's gonna be laughing real good. He's like, oh, Zest, what are you trying to do here, my friend? And he's just gonna get more queens. He's gonna get +1 melee, and he could really do anything after. He could go into Spire, or he could go into Hydra Bane. He's already playing +1 melee, by the way. So this is a fantastic setup here for Reynor. Yeah, he's gonna get super supply blocked.
Yeah, I mean, big supply block, but information on everything. The supply block is a shame then, because everything else was about to fall into place. 300 minerals that could be just pumping out drones, queens, because that's all you really need, right? Drones and queens. The queens help push the Phoenix back. The drones just going to give you that super economy because there's no big ground attack. You don't need to invest in a ton of units. So you can go straight up to your 70 workers, take your 4th base. And yeah, with the +1 melee, I actually really feel like the melee openings are just so good against double Stargate Phoenix, because it always feels as though you can just kind of overwhelm Withlings at times to just like bust a 3rd down or so. It just creates that sort of pressure that makes it so difficult for the Protoss, I feel.
Yeah, and also let's not forget about that. The first 7-8 minutes of this game most likely are just going to be consisting of, like you mentioned, air attacks, meaning that once the game really starts kicking off, there's going to be +2 already, and Zest is most likely going to be playing he's going to be forced into a defensive game most of the time. These Ling run or these Baneling run-bys with +2 are absolutely gnarly to deal with, so there's going to be a lot of momentum there for Reynor and a lot of opportunity for him to do some damage, as we see these Phoenixes are saving up on the top side of the map. Zest gives it away by flying through a creep tumor with one of his Phoenixes. This is going to trigger a response out of Reynor. Is there 2 spores in the main? Yes, there is. Reynor's defense is very smart. He thinks a lot about where to move his units, how to, like where he wants his queens to be, where he wants the extra spores to be. And I think he thinks about this a bit more than a lot of the other Zergs, where he really wants to have a perfect plan in most scenarios. We should see the queens moving towards the natural now, and we do see that. As Zest is trying to get some damage on, but against 2 spores this can be very difficult. Good drone pool micro as well coming out of Zest here, as we see what you mentioned before, this big Link flood into the 3rd base, and Zest isn't ready.
Yeah, these Adepts aren't even choked up, right? They're not even near the shield battery, which is, I mean, you need everything you can get to help hold this off, and he's going to back away because the Oracle's got a lot of energy, I suppose. He doesn't want to keep on trying to fight, and obviously Link's running into the shield battery might not do a lot, but you're already losing 4 Adepts, and that obviously weakens you to the, next attacks further down the line. Phoenix, meanwhile, do get a few extra drones, so a bit of damage being done, but, it's really not that kind of ridiculous amount of resource loss. He finally catches the Queen a little out of position, but this is still, what, like 700 resource loss advantage from Zest, and, sometimes these Phoenix games can be 1.5 to 2k, while still being okay for the Zerg, as he loses a Phoenix too, so really not going great for Zest in the early stages.
Yeah, Zest is moving into that into a big +1 timing, right? We're going to be seeing something like 8-9 gateways, maybe even 10 gateways here. Reynor spots all of it though. He sees a big amount of gateways being morphed into warp gates, and he should be aware of what's coming his way. He has double Evo, and he's going to go up to 80 workers. I think all of that is fine, but I would not recommend going much above the 80, and we're gonna need some preemptive banelings. So his baneling nest is really late, actually, Wardy.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's maybe kind of missing here, right? Especially because he's about to hit +2 melee, so he's gonna have baneling speed way after +2 melee, so he doesn't have that chance to roll banes into mineral lines right away. And obviously, on top of that, then defensively, that can obviously suck a little bit too. So you've got Phoenix escorting a Prism with 2 Archons inside. Link's still catching a unit or 2 here or there as well. Reynor just sharking around, looking to see what's going on. And Zest, does he make a large attack? I mean, he's setting up a 4th base, so he'll let this game go on himself. Heading on High Temple, he's got to make a move towards Storm as these Banes come up, especially when there's already Hydras and so on the map, right?
Yeah, I think you can play Stormless against some of the Ravager-Link Bane compositions as Oracles, and your air units will keep you safe, but against Hydra Bane, eventually you do need Storm, unless you manage to get a big push-off or a lot of momentum on your side before Baneling speed is done, and we still have quite some time on Baneling speed. I love this move with the Phoenixes and the Archons, by the way. The Phoenixes will be able to deal with any type of low Hydra count, and the Archons and Zealots should be able to deal with any kind of Zergling Bane defense, honestly. So I'm absolutely loving this combination. I think Reynor might be in a little bit trouble. Once again, has so much money in the bank, 2k resources almost, and he's spending it now, but
he's taking so much damage on the top side too. The Prism actually took a few hits, but Zest is seemingly just everywhere, and he's really controlling it well. Like, he's not running into anything. The only thing that he could be doing is actually the army on the natural could be doing a little bit more, which he will start to do now. But, he's pulling the army back on the low ground 4th base. This high ground base is being controlled well. Zest is just everywhere, and it feels like Reynor, because you don't have the units in position and ready to deal with this from the very start, you're just going to start losing stuff all over the place, right? This is so difficult to suddenly create a defense in 3 different places.
Yeah, Reynor already lost 17 workers and is still at 78 drones, meaning that he went up to 95 drones somewhere in between when I said he should stop at 75 and and this moment, which is not ideal really. He's kind of pushing Zest back now though.
Yeah, but the attack in the main though.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
yeah,
like,
I was just looking at the 4th base, which is now the 3rd base.
Yeah, it's like it looks a little bit weak on the top side. He's getting shut down, but the attack in the main is obviously still doing so much. And then you start to split away to deal with that, and the attack on the left side is going to come back in once again, and Reynor is going to take a loss, and Zest takes the lead of what is this best of 7. I know people are still confused, but it is best of 7. We were wrong about it.
there's no need to reinvent the wheel, Wardy, when it's already been invented.
Yeah, but the wheel initially was square.
What?
And then they
No,
made
I
it
think
round.
instead of wheels, initially they used logs to transport things because it would roll on logs. That's what they initially did, and then afterwards they figured, what if we have a log that we can put under our car?
So
Then-
what if we take the word break and we put it on top of a StarCraft game?
A break game.
Okay, bottom left of 2 to 1 is Zest.
All right, discourse. And in the top right, spawning as the red Zerg is Reynor. Fantastic. He's taking a third base somewhere else once again, as he's forced to. Zest is unrelenting in his quick probe scouting, unless he doesn't scout himself. Because then, of course, he can't really block the natural. It seems like he really has 2 modes for life, and one of those is a lot of money and oracles, and perhaps double Stargate after, and the other mode is glaive adapt. And so far, both modes have given him a win. So
The adept mode also is, I feel like one of those as well, which can be very switched up a bit though, you know, because sometimes he goes adept mode with DTs, and sometimes he goes adept mode into whatever the hell we did on Ice and Chrome, like 20,000 more adepts.
yeah,
I was also with
it's funny.
DTs, but yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of cool follow-ups, and I feel like that's the one thing that Reynor needs to be a little more aware of. It's just the early games seem to be going his way just fine, right? Last game as well, and then I feel like he needs to be a little more responsive in that mid-game scenario where, I mean, if you don't see a fourth base from Zest in that last game, or at least a very late fourth base, going up to 95 drones is really pushing it a little bit, I think. Especially if you also lose like 10, 12 drones to Phoenixes. It means you just went up to like 107 drones before really building any units. And I am sure you're going to have one hell of a macro game if he doesn't attack, but it's difficult to hold this kind of play. So yeah, I think Reynor needs to be a little bit more responsive to the things he sees. He's been doing a good job scouting with Overseers and Overlords all the way throughout. He just perhaps needs to tone it down a bit on the eco and a bit heavier on the units. That's really Zest is a very aggressive player.
Yeah. I mean, that's how he's died multiple times, right? Like, he's just got too many drones. The next attack of Zest does more than we expected to. It even kind of happened on Ice and Chrome, which Reynor won, where it was like, it became way closer than it ever needed to be because suddenly he had so many more drones than he was maybe meant to based on what Zest was doing. And especially when you have Overlord speed, the ability to rescout a couple times. I know that's difficult against Phoenix in the last game, but in the overall series, he's had Overlord speed a couple times. It feels like you could maybe do just a little bit more to figure those things out.
I agree there, Wardy. As we seem to be having another glaive build on our hands here from Zest. Starts his resonating glaives, and we'll be heading into what is undoubtedly 2 extra gateways. Now, that, like, I really don't want to criticize him too much for how he executes the build, but there is one thing which the Koreans do a little bit incorrect, and this is they've been doing this for a while now, is that they get the glaives before they get their extra gateways and their adept, which actually delays their extra probes a bit and makes the build slightly less economical. And also it delays, like, it doesn't make sense to have a very fast warp in that case, because K3 and 4 will be the ones that kind of delay the follow-up. So the reason why they do this is because initially when we were playing the glaive build, is that our timing to hit was with 8 glaive adepts. We would always try to go in with our first 8 adepts. Nowadays, with the new defenses that Zerg have figured out, we actually don't care about the first 8 adepts. So you don't actually need the glaives for the first 8 adepts. You only care about them for the first 12. And you see that his resonating glaives is actually going to finish about together with his second warp in, but he's not going to be using it. And this is something that both Stats and Zest do a lot, where they get the quick resonating glaives, which really doesn't give them anything, because in the last 50 games that I've watched, not a single time has anyone finished their first 8 glaive adepts. It's just not possible, because Lynx just deal too well with adepts. This warping in the main is bad. He should not have let that finish. That's a lot of damage on 8 glaive adepts. There's nothing in the third base though, which is kind of a big deal.
You can hit some drones from over here. He gets a couple, but that's about it. Now the queens show up, and now Well, now these Adepts are just kind of sat there. The Prism in the main base doesn't do much either. I mean, but the issue is obviously these Adepts are going to keep jumping around different locations. So now they go to that natural, which, okay, doesn't have a lot of drones on it, but it keeps Reynor running around, but he just doesn't feel he can stick around. He's going to lose those Adepts. And that's the issue because he can't reinforce, right? Because the Prism's elsewhere.
Yeah.
If he could have reinforced that and shaded extra Adepts in, maybe he can stick around, but yeah, he tried to get a little bit funky and it really just kind of flopped on its face this time.
The moment you start moving with the Prism, the Zerg also knows that most likely there's not going to be extra warpins. It's very risky to just, in the middle of a fight, deploy the Prism in case the Queen show up, you know. And of course, the units take extra damage as well, so it's not brilliant. This was a very good defense for Reynor, once again, by the way. Fast third base here as a follow-up for Zest, but we're not seeing any type of pro production. So curious to see what it's going to be. We see 4 more Adepts being warped in at home. Could just be for defensive purposes, could be also for some type of follow-up. But I'm not seeing any type of follow-up being started as of now. No Robo Bay, no Immortals even, no Force either. Yeah, so seems to just be mass Adepts. Kind of a surprise, ta-da, I warped in 8 more at home. And here I am now, you know? So there's actually nothing in the natural.
Well, I mean, all the Lings are across the map, and they are going to run straight into the natural of Zest. So it's kind of going to be a bit of a weird one because these Adepts can absolutely finish up in that shade into the main base. Queens and Roaches. I don't think there's quite enough Roaches, right? So you should be able to trade out, but the Lings in the main are just disastrous. If Zest had a wall off properly at the front, he might be doing really well, but the fact he's losing 15 workers himself, I mean, it just doubles up the damage he needs to do here, basically, to be in a decent position. And yeah, I mean, if he hadn't lost these workers, trading out like he's doing might be fine, but yeah, not the case now.
I honestly still doubt it would have been fine as well. I mean, Reynor's just in position, everything. This has been such a sick game. He's really stepping up from the last one. His positioning on the units, his macro, his general unit movement, the way he's trying to poke holes into Zest defense with the Lings on the other side has been absolutely fantastic. And as these Adepts start to bleed out, and I mean, Zest is on 21 workers against 47, and he has no army. Like, this is pretty much the reverse of what you want, right? Usually you want the Zerg to have half your workers, and then perhaps Zerg has a bigger army. But in this case, Zerg has a bigger army. It's gonna get that +1, 6 more drones on the way, extra gases are being taken. Layer is done as well. I mean, I just don't see a way for Zest to come back into this game. The moment Roach Speed finishes, well, the game is actually already over.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think you need Roach Speed, mate. Like, there are a bunch of Adepts against Roach's Spines. Zest has 21 probes, so all he can make is 4 Adepts at a time. And he's just going to go one more time into a base, which is just not going to work. There's even an extra Spine coming up. Reynor just says, you know, just in case you try and get tricky, that Spine's great. It forces you to target fire my drones instead of just auto-attacking. So yeah, it's just...
I don't understand this, though. He produced 15 more workers against a 21 worker Protoss. I really feel like Reynor wants his money way too badly. Like, this should not feel this close. Like, army supply is in favor of Reynor, but he's just taking... It almost feels like unnecessary risks, you know?
Yeah.
Like, look, trying to see how far he can go with the drone count. My man, it's not... You don't need triple the drone count. Like, you just... Like, having 10 more is good. Like, if you had 35 workers here, you'd be fine as well. I mean, he's going to win this game, but it's a trend that has been showing in this series where he's a little too keen on the drone button.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit rough, right? Just makes it harder than it needs to be. Misses that War Prism with a couple of vials there, as the double Spine will be a huge help on this third. These Adepts are going to commit to the shade because Zest is a little bit desperate, and that's obviously going to be disastrous if you're a Zest fan. But it's amazing if you're a Reynor fan, because we get tied up 2-2 in the best of 7, and Reynor is back on track again.
An impact. I also feel like they might have broken maps. I'm not sure who picked what map, but I feel like Reynor does like Golden Wall these days as well. So I think this is a Reynor pick. I think Everdream is a Zest pick as well. So let's head into this game. As in the bottom right spawning as the blue Protoss player, it is Zest.
And the bottom left, our red Zerg is Reynor, as we go into the home of the Urubu. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's the home of the Urubu. I believe there's 4 on this map. 2 on the top side, 2 on the bottom side. And the first one gets spotted by the Overlord. They look so dumb. Look how they move. You can push into them and they will fly away a bit. Did you know that?
No, I did not, but I was watching this drone that's on the map from Reynor, so he's gonna go. This is the build that you told me about last time, right? I think we talked about a bit. You proxy hatch and then you take your gold base.
Yeah, it's the perfect build order according to Reynor. You can't wait. What the hell is Zest doing? Oh, he's taking the back
Yeah,
base.
he's taking the back base.
He's gonna ruin the plans.
You know what I was about to say as
He's not
well?
taking gold.
I was saying that actually a lot of people have kind of gone back to kind of the bottom of the map kind of bases and stuff like that. Like this has been like popular lately again. And I'm like, I don't really know why. Like, I don't know if you have a take on that or anything. Is hey, this drone's still gonna get down there. Does then Zest go to the top side?
I have no take on this. Now he can't go to the top side. He doesn't have a wall there. I
guess he blocks the hatchery getting up, right? So
yeah, he should. If he doesn't manage to block the hatch here, I think he might as well just leave the game. I mean, you absolutely shouldn't. This actually is a good start. That drone scout is really expensive if you don't get the hatch block. It's actually really, really expensive for Zerg players. It's something that the players from other races often say, like, why don't they just drone scout? Protoss needs the probe scout as well, right? It's like, well, that's... Ooh, he got the gas. Yeah. Oh my god, are you joking? Oh, that is...
That just didn't respect it at all. It just walked over, took the extractor.
That is super bad. But yeah, the drone scout is really expensive, was going to say. And now it's worth it for Reynor. He's going to be really happy with this. It's just basically denies the Stargate option pretty much outright. Like, you don't have the gas to throw down a Stargate and get Warp Gate and a gate unit. So he wanted to proxy something, and now he's just going to go back home, I guess. Or is he going to build a robo?
He's still going to proxy. He's not going to go Stargate?
I mean, he can't. Like, he just... Oh, man, this is so bad for him.
Yeah. He had such a plan. Now he's going to build a pylon up toward this gold base.
Maybe he's going to go like 3 gated depth into glaives.
Yeah, and just like warping over the pylon, over the minerals. Yeah.
But, this is a really bad start for Zest here. It honestly went perfect.
What is it, Twilight Council?
Wait, what?
Like, is the pylon on the bottom of the map not a good place to hide your Twilight Council?
I have absolutely no clue what it is, but you know what, Wardy? I'm loving this. I know you're hating, but I think this is a cool move. This is a fantastic move. Just because we haven't seen it before, I love what Reynor's doing. He's mining out the bottom side of the map. He's gonna do a run by with 10 links. Maybe as a bonus, he's gonna spot that he's being glaive adapted. He's gonna take the bottom 3rd base as well, isn't he? Man, this series or this game so far has made absolutely 0 sense, and I'm just loving it. This is strategy. As you see, both players kind of adapt to each other. I mean, there's nothing there to defend these links. There's no pylon next to the Nexus either. The pylon now functions as a spotting pylon. We have a recall on this. Is it 1 adept?
2 adepts. 2 adepts.
Should be able to deal with this.
That's okay then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that saves the day, but he needs to make sure these links don't run past the top side. Because if they find, obviously, the Twilight Counts and they deny glaives, I mean, this game kind of just rolls toward an end very quickly as links actually get back into the main. So Reynor's going to find a few probes and obviously a probe pull. And that's obviously a big distraction. Definitely throws Zest off a little bit from where he wanted to mine. He's going to lose a couple of extra workers. That's 4 probes down, as now the hatchery building doesn't see the adepts warping in. So Reynor still doesn't quite know what's about to hit him. He's got to realize there's something wrong with knocking in the main base, right? Because he was in the
getting a rotor. He has spores already, or at least 1 spore. I mean, once his hatchery finishes, he's gonna get the ta-da surprise of a lifetime. He's gonna get vision of that pylon and 8 adepts like waiting for him to come through.
Yeah.
It's not quite a surprise he wanted, I think. 16 links are on the way. There's 4 queens as well. There's no spine though. Here comes the adepts 8. I don't think these adepts are enough. He's gonna let it finish though. That much.
Well, there's not many lings here just yet, but they are the queens, of course. Queens have transfusions, and that's what's doing so well at the moment. Finally out of transfusions. Do you think he sticks here? I mean, he's going to shade up into the main where there are lings. There's a stalker here too, and, well, there's going to be a dead queen, but then there's a full surround on these adepts with drones and lings, but that means the drones will go down, and 9 workers killed. More adepts showing up. Awesome. Is there hope for Zest?
I think there might be hope for Zest. He kills 14 workers, 21 workers against 35 right now. 4 more adepts are on the way, and no roaches in production. 20 workers. Oh my god, all the drones and the natural are gonna go down. This is it.
Wow. What? You know, To top this game off, I just love that I jumped in the main base and the stalker that was on the bottom of the map has just walked across the map and up into the into the main because Reynor mined it out. Like, that was just like the finishing touch of just a ridiculous game where everything just went a little bit crazy, a little bit wacky, and put Zest onto match point as the server.
Right, we have. It's kind of short. It can be good for glaive stuff. But the fort base is really difficult to hold for Toss and a lot easier to hold for Zerg, which means that a lot of it is going to be centered around 3-base play. And Stalker Colossus is quite potent on this map as well because of all the little chokes that you have. So it's just such a weird map to play, honestly, as we see Zest sending out his first probe towards that natural of Reynor. And Reynor is 12 pooling, of course, to
yeah,
to really add on to this series that has been an absolute clown fiesta so far. Now there's something funny that happens when Zergs play 12 pool, is that a lot of the time they send their drone down too late. Like the TOS doesn't notice that it's 3 seconds later than normal, pretending that it's still a regular expand. And every single time this happens, I'm like, all right, I know what this is. This is a 12 pool again. And actually Reynor isn't even pretending here. He's not going to be sending a single drone down. And we'll see what time Zest decides to go into the main base. The one thing that Reynor should do is hide a drone so he can build that hatchery at some point. Zest actually is going to be kind of in time here to block that. It's really bad that when you play 12 if you don't get the natural down. Like, that is extremely bad because you can't really deal with split bases. So we do see Reynor going towards that natural again, and he's going to get it. That's a really big deal. And then because Submarine is such a small map, you're actually going to be able to get into an okay-ish position. Let's see how Zest decides to deal with it. Second gate going down. See if it's going to be single zealot or double zealot.
Yep, Cybercore will build. Leaves the gap next to the gateway, so you can put the zealot in between, of course, when it spawns, and our lings start to make their way across the map. How much do you need to do here, Reynor, to really make this open and justifiable?
Kill one of the buildings, I think, would be helpful. This wall by Zest, he's gonna need 2 pylons in order to block this off fully, meaning that he can't really move out as easily with his zealot. He's gonna pull probes with this. I've seen Parting defend like this as well lately. So they're opting to not get a second zealot, instead pool of gas. Now it's gonna have a second chrono available. Here we go. Gonna put it on the gate that's being attacked, and also the one that started the adept later. So it's a little bit puzzling there for me. Now, I said this was going to be okay if Reynor kills one major building, especially if he... Oh my god, it's going to
get the zealot surrounded. I mean, it's kind of a sacrifice because he wants to make sure the building doesn't die, I guess, but now you've lost 3 probes as well. There's adept that's surrounded. Oh, and he's going to lose... Oh, he loses 1 more probe. He loses 2 more probes. Disaster for Zest.
Well, I was going to say he needs to lose 1 major building, but if you kill 5 workers, a zealot and an adept, I can assure you that's also a pretty decent situation here for the Zerg player, who's right now getting a gas for himself. He's going to be getting his 3rd queen out. His creep spread is already starting. Nexus goes down here for Zest. Oh, it's a Stargate follow-up with a single gas. Oh, Wardy. This is... It's looking a little bit rough for Zest here, honestly. That was not the most brilliant defense. He tried to go for the cheeky play with the 5 probes and the zealot instead of going for the safe second zealot. Didn't really want to lose his gate, and he overextended a bit. He got caught with his pants down, and now there's pictures of him in his underwear all over the locker room, and that's not what you want.
Nope, as the adepts get across, they're going to pick away at a couple of these lings. That's going to try and make something work out, but this is a second drone. Adept's going to get out alive. Go and fight again another day when they get some shields back. Something positive, maybe.
Oh my god,
they lose the adept. Never mind. I was trying to be so positive, you know.
Yeah, this is honestly quite rough here for Zest, who's gonna lose his... Oh my god, he's gonna lose another adept.
But he just has nothing on the map, right?
Yeah, I mean, it still was a 12 pool, so the eco isn't going to be brilliant, but I see no real pressure here coming out of Zest. He doesn't even have a unit in the wall currently.
Yeah, he's got nothing on the map, literally nothing. He's not got warp gate. At least slow ling's just gonna run in if the Oracle misses them. No.
This is gonna be the saddest game in the world.
Yeah. Oh my god, he's just gonna run. Oh, Reynor stops too short of the wall.
It would be the dumbest thing to watch happen.
He
And it's
runs in
something
and
that
just
could
kills the
have happened.
pylon, stops warp gate.
Yeah, it actually would have been super sad. It would have forced a recall from the Oracle. Second Oracle is going to spot these links. Warp gate is about to finish up. Oh, I don't think Zest was paying attention. There's still a 3-second window. But no. Okay, Oracle is going to catch all those links. It's actually kind of a big deal. Like, losing links like that is expensive. It's basically like losing 3-4 drones, right? Because you're going to have to rebuild them. Yeah, we see three sets of links in production right here. Road Warren going down as well, as Reynor believes there might be some type of glaive follow-up, but trust me, Reynor, there's not. It's just going to be triple Oracle. Reynor's up in workers right now. He has the third base going already. What's the queen count like, Wardy? 3. That's a little bit low.
Yep. He's just finished up number 4, so 4 queens, but obviously triple Oracle is still quite the powerhouse. And you can oftentimes just sacrifice an Oracle to pick up a bunch of drones, which might not be so bad in this set of circumstances, but he will not dive through there. Would be through a queen into score. He's actually going to dive on the queens. He finds the one with energy. And he just gets the queen kill. Now he's going to get a second one.
He's going to get 3. I think if he pays attention, yeah, he's going to get 3 queen kills. This is not... He's going to go triple Stargate Oracle. Oh, no. This is not a build... Reynor's building 5 roaches, 6 roaches. Oh, he's going to do a queen walk across the map.
One with no queens?
Yeah, that's not a great queen. He's adding drones again. I think he realized that he can. Oh, this is painful. Yeah, I didn't notice, but he went 3 gas very fast. His plan was to go a queen walk, but he just got caught slightly too quickly. He can't walk across the map right here. He only has 2 queens.
This is not good. He's morphing Ravagers, but there's 3 Oracles on the way at a time. Oh my god, that's just got the hard counter, right?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have been a hard counter if these 3 queens hadn't died. Because then there would be 6 queens right now, and with 1 or 2 transfuses, you're going to be completely fine. Ravagers are out. There's not a lot of energy on these Oracles, though, so that might actually be a saving grace here for Reynor. We have 1 transfuse available, gets used. We have no second transfuse. Yeah, these Oracles are out of energy. Where are the next Oracles? 2 more Oracles
two
are
more just
coming
popped.
out.
Yeah, he just go right away. He actually targeted the wrong queen because there was a queen that didn't have the transfuse, so if he targeted the other queen, this could have been very different from the start. Oracles are activating. He's going to lose the third base. Another Oracle showing up. Oh, he's obviously dodged the corrosive valves. Can't be taking those to the face. What do you prioritize here? Do you just prioritize getting the Ravagers down?
I think you just need to get... Like, eventually you're going to get the queens, right? He can't really walk back anyway. So you see the moment that Reynor starts running back, I think these queens will die. The thing here is that if Reynor doesn't get a crap ton of drones and a crap ton of queens out, he's actually going to be in a lot of trouble because, I mean, the 8 Oracles are such an asset and they're practically flying economy, right? They're going to be able to get something done here. They're going to be able to get 7-8 drones for free. You can just trade those in if you want, you know? If you truly want to, you can definitely trade 8 Oracles against 15 workers or something like that. So this is basically economy in the air right now that Zest has, and Reynor realized this. He's gonna push in. I don't think he should be doing that. I think he should have kept his queens at home.
We're about to get this point, right, where the Oracles are getting their energy back to reactivate when they were low energy before. So we're actually about to see the power of all of these Oracles able to fight at once for change. I think that's going to make a real difference to Zest. I was about to build some shield batteries, but he actually stopped. I don't know what happened with that probe up there. Gonna try and rebuild them now. He's just playing this patiently because as time goes by, he gets more Oracles, and that's only going to be a massive help. 2 more just joined the fray. These queens have transfuses, but they're going to drop so quickly. They get 1 shot! Oh my god! No. Well, that's just sad.
Well, it's not quite over yet. Reynor's still trying to do a lot of damage here. These Oracles are going to run out at some point, but I'm afraid it's going to be too late. Ravagers falling so quickly. Actually, not having Ravagers right now would be great, yeah. This is why I wasn't a massive fan of this move out anymore. It should have been drones, it should have been spores, it should have been the queens at home. There's a difference between having 9 queens next to a spore and having 9 queens in the middle of the map against apparently an amount of Oracles that can one-shot queens now.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's still weird because the Oracles need to get back to that stage where they've got energy again. So we're kind of left here waiting and watching, and maybe need a couple of units to help pull us down. A couple of Oracles are working their way through the Ravagers once more. The Lings run into the main. Reynor needs some serious damage, but like he really needs a lot, right? Because like you said before, at some point these Oracles counterattack, and then there's going to be a lot of drone damage. So an entire mineral line here seems great right now, but if that's going to be the end of his attacks, That's when these oracles are going to come into play.
I think that's actually a big deal, Wardy. I think, yeah. I mean, 15 workers, that's nothing to laugh at, because before Zest still had the opportunity to take a third base and kind of instant saturate it. Now that's pretty much gone. So we said that Zest is going to be able to get like 15, maybe even 20 workers if he really wants to trade in these oracles, right? But the queen count is growing. Zest is for some reason denying creep, rather than just moving across the map and trying to get damage ASAP. Why is he doing this?
I've got no idea, right? Like, is he afraid of another wave and he wants to slow it down? But I feel like if another wave hits, this is really the point where the oracles are all here. There's even some void rays, so that's actually really good for consistent damage output without needing to wait for energy. I feel like he's hit the point where actually he's fine against another push, but he should go across and deny some economy. Okay, now I feel like 15 probes are absolutely a massive deal, because now Reynor is just drawing up and taking a huge worker lead. Yeah. I just feel like that should have never happened.
No. He waited too long. We have 3 spores per base. We have 8 queens out. We have 2 more queens on the way. Once the spire is out, that's not the end of the air tools, but it's gonna be the end of the potency of oracle damage here. I mean, I honestly, I never asked myself how many oracles do I need to one-shot a queen, but apparently it's 11 is a good number. Perhaps you can even do it with 10, Wardy. Who knows, really, at this point. Ravager's a bit out of position, baiting out these oracles. This is good, honestly. I think that was intentional there by Reynor, baiting out a complete use of energy there by Zest. And I mean, Reynor's completely happy losing 3 Ravagers rather than 15 drones. I think Zest is completely misreading the situation right here, and he's gonna go into Blink to deal with a Corruptor follow-up, but we might actually see Roach Corruptor Queen here, which is not a composition, but against this it potentially could be.
Yeah. I mean, it's really going to nullify these oracles, right? As soon as the Corruptors show up and the oracles are there, they're just going to start dropping. So, the oracles flying to Corruptors, they're flying to Queens. That's not pretty. He's going to lose 2 at the very start of this. He drops a Revelation. That's a hard one, but hello? What did... Did you just give up? Zest just gave up. Wow. I mean, he goes out with disco lights flashing. That was not how I expected this game to end, Halston. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, well, I don't quite know what happened either, Wardy. This was an interesting one. I feel like the games have been extremely fun. Whenever I have a build order, I'm very timing reliant. I know Elaser has the exact same thing, and he very often complains about it. Man, I hate that I don't have enough minerals on this map. So it's just something fun to pay attention to. A lot of time you see glaive attacks hit really late on this map, and that's just purely because you do have just very, very bad income for whatever reason. I think there's only 2 close patches on this map, and even those are kind of far away. So let's see what happens as we see Zest once again with the fastest scout possible. He literally, I didn't know this, but he picks off the first worker. Like, his first move is just to select the worker and send it across the map.
That's amazing.
Yeah, actually, it's insane. It's really quite insane. So he's never gonna get blocked. I think a 14 hatch might block him if you do the hatch before the Overlord, but otherwise it's not gonna be possible. Majority of the time we see players do it with the first probe that returns the minerals, right? Or we see people play 13 pylon and chrono boost afterwards. There's a couple of ways that you can do it. I've seen Hero do the 13 pylon a lot back in the day. The CJ Hero, CJ Entis Hero, who's in the military now.
Yeah.
He's the first one who I saw do that, actually. Yeah, it's gonna be Hatch Gas, Wardy. It's gonna be Hatch Gas.
I was just reading out what's on the screen. That's what I do best.
Yeah, you go ahead, Wardy. This is your time to shine, my friend.
This is my time to shine. We've got 2 drones, and they're rallied straight into the extractor. They're gonna pop straight in. One comes out, second one pops, goes straight in. Third one's a bit out of sync, but we can't all be perfect.
We can't all be perfect. Can't all be like Wardy, as we once again are just going to be seeing. I mean, it's just a very standard opener from Zest, right? Most likely going to be going into a glaive adept build, but honestly, the glaive adept builds haven't really been working in that the glaive adepts have been doing anything. A lot of the time it has been the follow-up which has been doing the real work, with Reynor just having a fantastic defense in the first 5 to 6 minutes. So curious to see if there's something that Zest will change in his setup. Does he have something else planned? Perhaps he's gonna go straight into DTs for once, as Reynor has been skipping spores until really quite late into the game. And Zest is usually one to notice these things. Ooh, it's gonna be a Stalker first. Okay, that's a switch up already. Where's this Overlord going by Reynor?
It's just leaving. It's getting out of there before the Stalker shows up. But obviously he knows where it is, so it's not really... Oh, Stalker decides what it wants to do. It goes back. The Overlord's going to make a play in the main, so Zest makes a good read. Brings the Stalker, hides the Stalker to let the Overlord come deeper to guarantee the kill. And the tech's in the natural, so this Overlord should not be able to see it as it deep dives the main base, perhaps. Oh, he stops it though on the edge.
I mean, why would he deep dive? With every build that TOS has, there's only going to be 2 pylons. Meaning, if you see the one pylon on the edge, the other one in the natural is going to have all the tech. So the Link comes in, will spot the Robo. He knows enough for now. He doesn't care if it's Dark Shrine or if it's going to be Glaives. He just knows that he doesn't need a Spore for now because it's not going to be a Stargate. And we see the Overlord going for a play going into the back of the natural or into the main base. I'm not quite sure what it's for. Usually you always got to ask yourself, what info am I trying to get? And in this case, I'm not quite sure. We're seeing the DT, by the way. This is what I thought would happen because Zest he's very good at this. Like he'll play the same build again and again, and then in the last game he's like, all right, you've been cutting on this, here we go. And then he warps 3 DTs into the main base and no Spore for Reynor. So we see the Overlord coming in. It's not going to be able to see what he wants. I don't understand what is the goal here with this Overlord? There's not going to be a 3rd pylon. Was that a scout? He scouted. He saw the Dark Shrine.
Oh, that Link up the ramp.
Jeez, this is bad.
Delivers. Okay, well, now Spores can start up. Flare is on the way. Reynor also knows there's no Adept timing, right? So he doesn't need to go into anything like super defensive. He just needs to have units for the timing of the DTs. That just means you can get a couple extra drones out here. You don't have to cut quite as heavily.
Yeah, and I mean straight into layer, right? That's
that's the one. That's the one thing you can't get with Glaives, the layer.
Yeah. You definitely can because all of you're only playing off of 1 gas, so all of your gas needs to be going into those fast roaches. Now, we always see Zest warp straight into the main base. By the way, this is such a Zest move. He loves. Wait, it's not gonna do it. Amazing. Warp straight in front of the natural, starts walking in. We have a shade. I mean, these DTs are gonna be largely useless here. There's Spores at every single location. 2 Adepts in the 3rd base. Yeah, they're gonna be able to do something. And 3 Adepts moving into the natural. Are you joking?
Oh, the DTs run in, but he gets scared off by a Queen Overseas. Okay, it's alright, it's alright.
I mean, he can't go too deep because then he won't be able to get away with the DTs. The Queen movement is so aggressive here by Reynor. 2 drones have gone down, but 5 more are on the way. I mean, this is not what you want with a 3-gate DT, right? You want a little more done than this. As 6 more drones are being built here, going to go up to 50 workers. Evo chamber coming down. What's the Queen count? 5. Not a single roach has been produced. We see 4 on the way now, but oh my god, that was really close. If that falls, the game just kind of ends. But luckily it didn't, Wardy.
Luckily it didn't, as the Adept's going to get surrounded on the 3rd base, so that's not a proper wall, so all of a sudden you've got Adept dropping on the 3rd, and that's going to be really bad. He warps in a DT to help this out, but that Nexus has a pretty good chance of just going down. Does he start getting enough DTs, enough links fast enough? It's getting close.
Oh, the Archons are not in the prison.
Well, why are the Archons? Oh my god, the Archons are on the other side of the map. They're on their own. What is happening?
I think he might be able to get an arc. No, barely
Just
doesn't. Gets a cancel on the 3rd, though. That's painful. And usually I wouldn't even say it's that painful because Zest is someone that loves to take a 3rd base and then have 8 gates behind it, right? But this is the one game where he went up to 53 workers already. He's delaying his extra gateways. He wants to play a macro game. And in this case, it's so important that you get that 3rd down quickly because you actually want to be using it. We're just going to see him down in income for the next, well, for the remainder of the game, honestly. Yes, Reynor is already at 64 workers, has 65 workers, has 1 more on the way. Roach speed +1, and I don't see a timing coming out of Zest here. Like, what is he gonna do? 55 workers, 6 gate, a single disruptor with it, or a single colossus? Like, it's just not really a thing. He's doing a good job denying creep, but I mean, creep doesn't really cost anything. It's just energy, my friend. We need more of you here.
Yeah, the creep's like, cleaning up creep, it's like, it gives you opportunity, but to have opportunity, you need something to, make that opportunity with afterwards, right? So he sets up for something that then doesn't exist in the next stage. Yeah, that was a butt clencher, that Archon pickup.
Yeah. Ooh. What are these roaches? Oh, it's gonna be a roach push.
Which green? Queen's already out on the map.
Yeah. No, he's gonna go back. He was just trying to catch the prism, I guess. Honestly, I wouldn't have liked it if he'd done it. I think he's in such a good spot that he absolutely doesn't need to do it. We don't see any gases on the way here for Zest, and now I'd love for Reynor to realize what's going on, because it's actually going to be what I said it was. It's going to be a single disruptor push, which this is not really a build order, and all Reynor needs to do at this point is just produce units, and he doesn't need a single drone anymore at this point. He's on 66 against 57. As long as no gases are being taken on this third base, there's no use for him to get any more workers. It's just not necessary, and I would love for him to scout that. I'd love for him to scout those extra gases. I think Reynor is aware, though. He knows what's coming for him, and I mean, with 2 more gates on the way here, we're going to be moving up to how many gates? There's 8 already out. 4 more gates. He's going to be going up to 12 gateways. Double disruptor.
I want to believe, just for the excitement of Game 7, but Reynor's maxed out. Even if you hit like 2 mega disruptor hits, does it change anything? Or does it change enough? Like, I feel like it's still not going to be a good push from Zest.
Yeah, I love the fake gas, by the way, on the third base. That's a good play. I like that, but I mean, the only thing I can imagine how Zest wins if Reynor kind of gets impatient and starts attacking. I think Reynor wanted to just do a roach bust, which that's not really the play against disruptors usually. Don't get me wrong, I have a feeling this might just work, but
yeah,
it's really not that necessary. Zest is extremely all in over here.
Yeah, Reynor sees the disruptors. I mean, you definitely can't go in all from one angle. You at least need to come like around the top left side as well. Make a couple of attacks from different places. Disruptor shot gonna go. Send off the Ravagers. He dodges. Only 1 Ravager goes down, so deals with it initially. But again, all it takes is a couple of shots when you're aggressive like this, and then obviously the Stalkers maybe blink in. Then maybe things fall apart a little bit. So it's a dangerous game that Reynor's playing, but he is teching up behind it, right? Bane Nest coming through, and he doesn't commit to the fight, and I think that's the play. You've got Bane Nest coming up. You're going to get Banes. You're only going to get better here. Now you can fight on creep. You've got extra speed to dodge disruptors.
Oh, yeah. And then jumping, he does, my friend. But don't get that 1 disruptor. Yes, does die. So what are we at now? 2 disruptors. Couple more good biles coming down. The micro by Reynor is so good here. This Ling run by was still set up. It's going to go into the third base. Quick warp in there for Zest. I mean, there's such a big bang for Reynor as well now. So even if he does lose a bunch of units. Oh my god, this Ling run by turns into a Ling flank. This is so well done by Reynor, honestly.
Gets the Ling flank off. The Stalkers are blinking desperately. There's just not really that much here. Some reinforcing Stalkers are showing up, but Reynor, you mentioned it, the money in the bank to spend. He is out of lava, but he can morph in Banelings now, and even without speed, I think those Banes are just going to be a good foothold to keep him steady as Zest continues across the map on only 3 bases, only on 4 gas. This is not a pretty time as Zest. Actually, sorry, he did start mining gas 5.
Yeah, I mean, even if he was mining 6 gas, it still would not be a pretty sight, honestly, Wardy. As Prism barely gets away, Disruptor will fall before its shot finishes up. We have this Ling run by, or well, it's going to be used as a Ling flank once again. I'm absolutely loving this. And Baneling's rolling forward, or well, walking forward still. If there's no Baneling speed, a little bit of creep.
Yeah, there's just no way. Immortal goes down. It's pure Stalker. First, these Ravagers, they're blinking from Zest to try and fight this. But now you're blinking in, and there's going to be Ling reinforcements that start to make their way through. And of course, Zest is just so all in that losing this army is irreplaceable. Even if he's killing off a decent amount of Ravagers, look how many are left. And Zest knows that he taps out, and Reynor wins the best of 7 and gets through to the grand finals.
Yeah, and what a difference if you compare this game to the Ice and Chrome game, right? The way that Reynor was picking engagements against this army, which was kind of similar. This time he was using this Ling flank, he was using counterattacks as well to kind of keep Zest close to his base. His creep threat was fantastic. This was an absolute masterclass here by Reynor on how to beat probably one of the best PvZ players in the world. And well, yeah, we're going to have one hell of a final here, Wardy.
One hell of a final. It's Reynor versus Serral in another best of 7.